From News Center 11, this is On the Record.
Hello, I'm John Johnson. Welcome to On the Record. Glad to have you with us for another edition of On the Record. We are pleased to have two guests today that's going to talk about Memorial Day and veterans in this area and what they're doing. And so please welcome, if you would, Kurt Goldacker, who's quartermaster of VFW Post 12124. Welcome.
That's correct.
How are you?
Great. Doing great.
I'm glad to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
Same here. Norm Copeland is District 4 Commander. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Memorial Day, if we could. It comes up on tomorrow, Monday, and we talk about this over the years, but I would like, from your perspective, what do you think this means to all of us in this country, celebrating or recognizing those who've gone on?
Well, significance of Memorial Day, vice Veterans Day. Veterans Day, we recognize all those men and women that had served in the armed forces. Memorial Day, back in 1967, it became a national holiday, but it started back right after the Civil War. And the Confederacy actually began decorating grave sites of their fallen dead, and it was Decoration Day. And it went up all the way up through World War II, and Decoration Day honored those fallen servicemen and women in the Civil War. And then it became all wars. And then it became recognition of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice to our country, and that's why we recognize Memorial Day. So it is a somber occasion. A lot of people look at Memorial Day as the start of summer, go to vacation, school's out, it's ready to go. Well, it's a time to pause and time to recognize those service members and families that are affected, that have lost loved ones throughout the years and in all wars, and it continues to this day. We still have members serving overseas, and we still have, unfortunately, those who lose their lives and have the ultimate sacrifice.
And so it's more than just the barbecuing in the backyard. Absolutely. And the grilling, right? You will tell me what? Those who think that's all it is, you will tell them what?
And I discussed it with you earlier, one of my pet peeves is Happy Memorial Day. I'm sorry, it's a solemn occasion. It's a sober time for us to remember those that did pay that ultimate sacrifice. President Clinton did a wonderful job when he was in office. He had a memorandum called the National Day of Remembrance that he passed out to all of his executive heads and directed them to have all the people of the United States at 3 p.m. at local time stop and reflect for a moment, maybe just offer a silent prayer, or I would like to see them take that 3 p.m. time frame and discuss what Memorial Day is with your families. The sacrifices of these individuals that died for our freedom is what really makes America today. So it's important that we take that time.
And so you keep the memory there, and you make sure that it's celebrated in every city that you're in. What do you tell us about how important this is to the country and to those who have served?
Well, to the country and to those folks that have served, it allows us to look back, recognize that sacrifice, and then be able to educate our youth. We would not be here without that sacrifice and that service to our country.
We hear that freedom is not free. We hear that all the time. What does that mean?
I'll give you another one. If you can read, thank a teacher. If you can read it in English, thank a veteran. And that's what it's really about. Right. Our veterans are individuals, and the Vietnam War was much maligned. And a lot of times the guys that served during the Vietnam War came home to a less than favorable welcome home. And that's something that we're starting to focus on in Meridian right now, is to prepare for a huge welcome home for all of our Vietnam veterans and give them the honor and dignity they deserve for what they did. A lot of those individuals were drafted. They didn't have an option of whether they were going to go to war or not. Right. But our job as citizens is to recognize that those guys did what they were supposed to do, and they fought a just cause. We believe it was a just cause. Some do not, but we believe that it was. And those that died, 54,000 men and women, we need to recognize and honor their sacrifice.
Both of you, tell us about your service to the country.
I spent 20 years riding nuclear submarines. I'm a submarine weapons specialist, and I enjoyed it. I really did. One of my regrets is perhaps that I didn't get to serve in Vietnam. I'm a Vietnam era veteran, but I did not go in country because I was doing another thing, dealing with the Soviet Union off the east coast of the United States. But wonderful time. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend military service to anyone. Made me a man.
Well, 26 years as a Navy pilot and served on the East and West Coast and around the world. Lived in Italy and got to see parts of the world that you only read in textbooks. And it was an honor to serve. And my last tour of duty was obviously here in Meridian as the Commodore, and retired, and I'm still training the future of naval aviation. And it is a blessing to see those men and women, both Navy, Marine, and foreign nationals. We train the French, Spanish, Italian, British, and now we have Singapore students, and they're getting the best training in the world right here in Meridian.
We have always been the best in the world, have we not?
Yes, we have.
Absolutely.
So VFW Post. Talk a little bit about VFW, because that's what keeps everything alive, I would imagine, in local communities and local areas.
One of the things that's kind of been misunderstood about the VFW a lot of times, and we don't really want to call it the VFW anymore, it's the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Let's call it what it is. Yeah. VFW tends to connotate a bar up on the hill where a bunch of old veterans go and gather and smoke cigarettes and tell war stories. And nothing could be further from the truth, John. The absolute truth of VFW is we have a purpose. We were chartered by the Congress of the United States of America to do certain things. And the fraternal aspect is just one small part. And I'd ask Captain Goldacker if he'd read this is a preamble that we do at every VFW post meeting. It's read to all the members. And it's important we understand why we're doing what we do.
And it allows us to focus our meetings. We meet once a month, and by the congressional charter, the purposes of the corporation, the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post, are fraternal, patriotic, historical, charitable, and educational. And they are: 1, to preserve and strengthen the comradeship among its members; 2, assist worthy comrades; 2, perpetuate the memory and history of our dead; and to assist their widows and orphans; to maintain true allegiance to the government of the United States and fidelity to its constitutions and laws; to foster true patriotism; to maintain and extend the institutions of American freedom; and to preserve and defend the United States from all enemies. That's pretty powerful.
So you can see we've got a lot of tasks. The fraternal aspect is what most people see. They see the VFW post, and that's where we gather the veterans together. It's an opportunity, and I know Captain Goldacker's been in this situation. A lot of times if we go into a public restaurant and we appear to be a veteran, or we go to a drinking facility, whatever, sometimes you get asked stupid questions. And you know, how many people did you kill? Those kind of things, and we don't want to deal with that. In a VFW post, we can gather together with other people with similar circumstances and experiences, and those questions aren't asked. If we need to talk to somebody, there's somebody there that understands. They've been there, they've done that, they got the t-shirt. But they're not going to ask us the dumb question. If we don't want to talk about it, they leave you alone. And that's one of the things I've always loved about the VFW. It's a family, but like I said, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Our scholarship programs, we give away $2.1 million a year in scholarships nationwide. In Meridian, in the last 4 years that I've been here, we've had about 10 entries in our scholarship programs total. This year, we fortunately got a Teacher of the Year in the elementary division, nothing for middle or high school, and our Teacher of the Year actually won the state. She won the department competition. Our Boy Scout of the Year won the department competition. And those results have not come back from national yet, whether they've won at that level.
And is it an opportunity for teaching moments for you when you do these kinds of things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It goes back to the instruction, our historical, the patriotism, the Americanism. We always try to promote Americanism, good citizenship, and that's the reason for the teacher awards. We look for teachers that are promoting Americanism and citizenship training in their classroom.
There are some events that's coming up. We're going to take a break right now. There are some events that are coming up that you want us to know about that's happening
Yes,
around
sir.
the area. And there's also the issue of dealing with the VA hospitals.
Absolutely.
That's come up on this Memorial Day. We'll take a break and be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to On the Record. Kurt Goldacker and Norm Copeland are here with us to talk about Memorial Day and some activities, a lot of activities coming up. As we were in break, you were talking about scholarships and veterans in the classroom. Tell us a little bit about what that is and how schools, how you relate to schools and school children.
Well, locally here in the area, Southeast Lauderdale does a great job in recognizing veterans or Veterans Day programs, but all of the schools have those type programs, and we want to, as part of our purpose, to continue that education and show that both middle school, high school, and teachers have opportunities to enter both Patriot Pin Competition, Voice of Democracy. There are a lot of ways that we can educate the youth to show just how important it is when it comes to defense of freedom.
And it's also part of that commitment that veterans seem to have to give back to community.
Right. It's important to educate, and I keep hearing this over and over from both of you, how important it is. Are you concerned that the young people are not getting enough understanding of how this country got started and what we need to do to make sure that we maintain freedom?
I think we actually see a lot of that on your news programs in the afternoons. Youth are disconnected from what the mainstream, in my opinion. We used to be a nation of patriots, and we used to stand proud when the American flag went by, and those things are gone. And I believe it's gone because we're not getting into classrooms early enough and teaching flag etiquette and why are we patriots? Why are we interested in continuing the legacy of the United States of America on for another 250 years?
And the biggest thing is you can talk about a section of history, a portion of time. When you read it in a book, it's not personal.
Right.
It's something that happened in the past, and why does that involve me? It's just being able to get that personal touch in there, and you have individuals that have been in World War II, veterans, Vietnam, Korean War, and now you come face to face, it now becomes personal.
The greatest generation, they're called, the World War II vets. The greatest generation. Yes.
God bless them.
Yeah. Why? Why were they so important to us?
We'd be speaking German or Japanese,
Absolutely.
and what they did for us can never be paid back in full. They went because that was the thing to do. You enlisted in the service, and you went.
And they were so young.
Just kids. And
Just
they still
kids.
are today.
Yeah.
Our servicemen and women are so young. We look back and say, were we ever that young? I don't remember it, but evidently we were. I know it. When I turned 21, I was making a patrol above the Arctic Circle in charge of a torpedo room on a nuclear submarine.
But when you sit down and talk to a World War II veteran, and you realize the sacrifices that they did, not only for themselves and their education, but for their families and the people they left back home.
Exactly.
I've had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Grissom, a former WTOK employee, and listen to his stories. It's just an honor to be in his presence, and you just see the sacrifices that he made, both for his family, and it was tough. Tough times back then.
There's so many untold stories. And that's one thing, like Algie Davis. We last year we recognized Algie Davis as the most patriotic citizen in Lauderdale County with the VFW award, and we're very proud of Algie. I don't think anyone in the community could deny the fact that he is the most patriotic citizen here.
Wears it on his heart, doesn't he?
Wears it on his heart. He does. He truly carries that flag with him all the time. But
let's talk a little bit
he
about
does a program. He does a program with a recording studio to record veterans' histories, and that's very important. The stories of the individuals, and what they did, and what they experienced. And it's important.
Let's talk a little bit about. We're taping this show on a Friday morning, and so some things are when we air on Sunday evenings. There are going to be some things that are gone. But tell us a little bit about what's going on this weekend.
Well, we've got the recognition and ceremony at the Mississippi State Veterans Cemetery out in Newton that will have taken place Saturday at 11 o'clock.
We're actually adding 2 new plaques to the Persian Gulf Memorial of servicemen from Mississippi that have passed.
And then poppy sales. So you've got both posts.
Poppy distribution.
Got some right here.
Sales, distribution.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I misspoke. Poppy distribution, in which both Post 79 and 12124 will be in front of a lot of locations throughout Meridian. Again, that recognition, visual recognition of support of veterans.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On the Record. Mr. Goldacker, tell us again what's going to happen on Monday.
So Monday morning, on the west side of the Lauderdale County Courthouse, will be the Memorial Day ceremony that we have every year here in Meridian. Again, a very solemn occasion recognizing those who have sacrificed and have died here in Meridian and Lauderdale County, and recognize their service. So we'll have Captain Charles Moore will be the commanding officer of the Naval Air Station Meridian, will be the guest speaker. The mayor will be present. We're looking for 150 to 200 people. But if you have not made plans and you would like to come down tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we'd love to have you.
We'll be there. We look forward to it.
Amen.
All right, so this issue of VA hospitals, it's become a real hot topic. It's a shame. Some people say that veterans are treated the way they are, and the waiting list that they've had to deal with over the last few years. No one's fixed it. So you take veterans all the time to the one in Jackson.
Yes, sir. It's one of my honors, privileges to be able to drive the DAV van and transport patients from the Meridian Veterans Clinic over to the hospital. One of the things that I do every trip is I always inquire with my veterans, are you being treated properly? Do you feel you're being treated with honor? Are you getting proper medical care? And we've had a few issues over the years, and I'll admit that, but by and large, I'd say that the Sonny Montgomery VA Hospital is doing a pretty good job. Director Battle over there is a fine man. His heart is veteran. He believes he believes in what we do, and he believes in helping us, serving us. And that's a good thing. In the last 2 years since Director Battle's been there, 100% of the management staff of the hospital has been turned over. So we've got all new people. Now, we did have some severe problems over there in the past, years ago, and the whistleblower thing had come out a few years ago about some cancer patients and stuff that had been misdiagnosed and died. And I'm not going to say the VA hospital is perfect. It's not. We make mistakes every day over there. I'm fortunate to serve on the Voluntary Services Committee for the VFW at the Sonny Montgomery Hospital, and we meet regularly and discuss the issues in the hospital, things that are going on, what can make it better. But overall, I'd say that in general, the patients over there are getting above average care than what you would get at Rush or Anderson Hospital.
So it sounds like the others across the country could take some lessons on what's going on in Mississippi. What do you hear? What pains you when you hear things like this?
Well, the first thing, it's obviously the hurt and the focus on veterans and what happened in Arizona and the waiting lists. And I'm sure it's true, and I'm sure that there was mistakes made. But again, I think that's just a very small percentage of the overall VA system. It is a very large system. I've heard a lot of success stories, but there's also a lot of issues that could be done better. Even today, and this is now Friday morning, this will be aired on Sunday, the director of the VA is apologizing to every family of the veterans in a letter and is vowing to do better. It needs to be more than that.
He's a war hero, and he's well respected in the military. Should he go or should he stay? You have a feeling about that at all? That's a tough question.
It's a very difficult thing. General Shinseki a very honorable man, and he is a war hero. He's one of my heroes. I think he's done a good job, but as we were discussing earlier, that's just a huge ship to right. You don't stop an aircraft carrier on a dime, and you surely can't stop the situations that's been going on in the VA on a dime. I'm proud to see the president's getting a little involved now and engaging into the issue. In an active duty scenario, had one of these situations happened and Captain Goldacker will testify to it, the CO would be relieved immediately. It's a lack of confidence in his ability to command is the terms that the military tends to use. Should he go? That's not my job to figure out, Mr. Johnson. My job is to make sure my veterans in the local area get the best care they can get. And we fight every day to make sure they do.
Congressman Montgomery would be a little upset if
yes, sir.
He knew what was happening.
He would be extremely irate.
It's got his name on it, so that's an important part of that, isn't it?
Exactly. But you got to also understand, this VA hospital over here that we have, currently they're serving 45,335 veterans. That's 436,326 appointments last year alone. It's a big ship. And I think they're doing a good job. Yes, we have problems, but every time that I've ran across a problem, I've been able to go directly to the director, point it out to him, and I've seen him pick his phone out of his pocket and make a call and proceed to right the ship immediately.
We're going to take a break, and we'll wrap this up in just a moment. Stay with us.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Well, welcome back to our final segment. You were talking during the break about post partnerships and how you can partner with others. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we're looking, we work very well with our sister post, Post 79, and we're also looking to tackle the issues that veterans have. There are some that are down there on their luck. Money, food, shelter. We've assisted 3 homeless veterans in just the last year and gotten them off the streets. We're looking to do partnerships with Wesley House. They have helped 2 of our veterans when it comes to providing food and money when they needed it. And there's some shelter opportunities both with Wesley House and other partnerships here in the city to help those veterans locally, both here in Meridian, Lauderdale County, and surrounding counties. And again, I read that purpose that we read to our membership every post meeting. In there, we will support, essentially we will support our own, regardless.
You kind of bristle when you talk about the homeless issue.
Recently, we had an experience in Meridian where we had a young female homeless veteran, and we were unable to place her in any facility in Meridian. By virtue of she was not drug addicted, she wasn't physically abused. She did have a small amount of income, but it was late in the month, and she just didn't have the money to find a place to stay. We ultimately got her enrolled in the homeless program in Jackson through the VA hospital, but for about a week, it was tough trying to find a location to put her and help her.
You got to spend time thinking about the veterans and those who've served our country. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Every day.
Well, this is all the time we have for this one, but you're always welcome back to come and talk about veterans issues.
Mr. Johnson, it's a pleasure to be here. And again, Memorial Day, it's tomorrow. Think about, say a prayer for those who have served and paid the
Remember
ultimate
the
sacrifice.
Gold Star families, the families.
33,000 are still in harm's way.
Exactly.
Sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. We'll see you again next week.